Greetings, Faith Point, from my space pod, also known as my home. I welcome you. And yes, my name is Ron Myers, and I am here to deliver our daily devotional. You are not tuned in to the wrong station. You'll have to excuse the liberty I've taken. We have to improvise in these days, so this isn't really my NASA space helmet, but we do the best with what we have, right? I'll explain a little bit more what I mean by that in a minute here. And we're going to be taking this from Matthew chapter 4. This is a lesson of Jesus being tested in the wilderness. And it is said, "Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, 'If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread.' Jesus answered, 'It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God.' Then the devil took him to the holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. 'If you are the Son of God,' he said, 'throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone.' Jesus answered him, 'It is also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test.' Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. 'All of this I give you,' he said, 'if you will bow down and worship me.' Jesus said to him, 'Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only.' Then the devil left him, and the angels came and attended him." What does this lesson tell us? Well, there's obviously the case where Jesus' faith is severely tested by his fears and his current predicament. There's the fear of Satan himself. I mean, who wouldn't be scared and afraid of the devil, right? There's a fear of being alone by himself. There's the fear of a wilderness, an unknown environment. And then there's the fear of just the extreme exhaustion that he was facing after 40 days and 40 nights, right? Now, if you're thinking like me, these are probably some things that we can really relate to given the current situation that we're all going through, right? We've got Satan in the form of our dreaded coronavirus. We're alone. Even if we're sheltering in place with our immediate family, we're missing the extended family, our friends, our co-workers. The wilderness, who would have ever thought that our home would be thought of as wilderness? But it's unknown that we are spending the time that we are in an area that is usually so comfortable to us, where we're literally seeing it in a different light every day. And then, of course, the 40 days, right? I mean, not keeping exact count, but we're going into week 5 of, this current quarantine, self-quarantine, or safe at home. And by my count, that's like almost probably 3/4 of a 40 days already of our own. But just as we feel all these things that we learn from this story, there's also a lot more that we're ultimately using our faith for every day to win over our fear. God tested Jesus ultimately, and in the end, Jesus was still led out of the wilderness as well. So his faith was restored. And, just as Jesus was led out, so God and Jesus will lead us out of this current situation as well, provided we keep the faith. So something that I've recently stumbled across that I thought was encouraging, I wanted to share with you today as well. And it all goes back to my makeshift space helmet here, right? Please, imagination here. I ran across this article from a woman by the name of Anne McLean. And maybe some of you are like me, that were these childhood dreams of becoming an astronaut, and never quite worked out. Or maybe some of you that are younger much younger, actually are thinking that way, and hopefully that'll work out for you because it's quite a dream, and I'd like to see it happen. But as I was mentioning, Anne McLean, she recently, there was an interview that she conducted, and Anne is quite an accomplished astronaut. She has actually spent over 200 days in space, not all at once, but still imagine 200 days, 3/4 of a year, or 2/3 of a year. Quite amount of time to be alone with your thoughts and overcoming your fears and truly having faith. And space, really, if you think about it, it's quite another wilderness, right? I mean, there's a lot of unknown, and it's going to be a true test for anyone. But taking from her NASA training, so these teachings here really aren't all Anne's, but she shared them with the public, and I want to share them with you again here. And what they did is, as you can imagine, being by yourself, alone, because it is a test, they actually developed what they feel are 5 very effective behaviors to be mastered when living, working, just being remote. And so we're going to use these and talk about these because we can use these to build upon our own behavior and truly bolster our faith as well in these times. And so there's 5 points, and I'll go through them here rather quickly. And the first one is communication. So what topic really doesn't revolve around communication, right? But I guess what was different in this one that I learned about was that communication is two-way, right? There's certainly the talking, the presenting, as I'm doing here, but there's just as much importance on listening. And I think we know that. But the one thing that Anne articulated here is when we're listening or talking, it's not just to be listening in the moment at that, but actually to be doing this with the grasp of trying to understand. And in this situation now, right, we don't want to just listen, but it's important that we understand as much as we can because we have less time to actually communicate. And so it becomes more important to us perhaps to actually make sure that we understand. There's so much information, too much information, we can become overwhelmed. So understanding what's really important matters. The second quality or behavior that they identified was actually leadership/fellowship. And both are equally important. And through our time alone, we actually can find where we need to exhibit behaviors of both. Many of us probably think we're maybe more a little bit of a leader or maybe a little bit more of a follower, but we will find that there are times where we fall into both roles. And so understanding them is important, and understanding what is meant of a leader versus a follower as well, or vice versa. So leaders, right, we need to exhibit behaviors that influence others. It's important that the message is carried and others grasp onto the importance of that as well. We as followers equally need to find our role and understand that it's a participation role. It's an active role, not just to be listening, but to actually be in the moment and supporting the leadership, frankly, right? So we can all do that. We're really dependent upon each other in these small roles or alone that we can exhibit both of these behaviors. The third item is self-care. We have to remember, right, as we're often told, that you can only take care of others when you're taking care of yourself. And that's so true, especially when you're self-reliant upon yourself. We need to exhibit those behaviors that show that we are doing the things that we need to do. Now, if that means that we're in our nighttime pajamas or our daytime pajamas a little bit more than we're used to, well, then so be it. But there still are things that we do to take care of ourselves from day to day. 4, after we take care of ourselves, we want to take care of our team. So the fourth item is team care. We know that we need to remind ourselves that we're not in it alone, that we need to stay strong, that our team is as strong as the links that bind it. This care actually extends to many things in all forms of health, right? There's physical, there's psychological, logistical, emotional, all of them important to the team. And again, the team is as strong as its bond of its lengths. The fifth and final item that she identified, or they at NASA identified, was actually group living. And this is where, whether we're alone or in a small group setting, an extremely small group setting, our interactions are so key to working in these difficult days. So beyond that, and as cliche as it may sound, we need to remember that we are in this together. We need to enhance our ability to adapt ever more now, and especially for case in point for Faith Point Lutheran Church, right? We're using these midday devotionals in new ways that we didn't before. We're having online and live streaming worship services and using Zoom for our small group ministries, all in new ways. Novel approaches, but really with the same messages, right? So these 5 helpful behaviors actually are going to help us in these fearful times. And ultimately, it's with these and our faith in God that we will gratefully see what lies beyond, and hopefully these behaviors can help us exemplify how we can live through this time. Jesus prevailed over the devil in the wilderness. We're showing that we can prevail over the devil in a virus and stay strong as a community. And I'm so thankful for that and the opportunity actually to be able to share a message quickly with you here today at this time. It's truly wonderful, and by the grace of God, we will prevail and keep the faith over the fear. Peace be with you, and over and out.